carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Are you listening to me, Neo?
In the beginning, Morpheus asked Neo, "Are you listening?" If I was Neo, I would have replied, "How is the Matrix, or government, or empire mainly established, and how does it end?" He probably would have replied things like cognitive dissonance or enormity bias. Cognitive dissonance is the mental distress or discomfort experienced in an individual who holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values at the same time, performs an action that is contradictory to one or more ideas or values, or is confronted by new information that conflicts with existing beliefs, ideas, or values. Normalcy bias, a mental state that people enter when facing a disaster. That's normally what we put in whenever we're faced with the facts that the government may be up to something, or we're faced with the fact that earthquakes may be happening more. And instead of researching, people these days have become so apathetic, or they've become so displacent, that instead of researching it, they've gotten to the point where it's just like automatic rejection. That right there, you should ask, is that you, or is that what you've been programmed to do? Because it causes people to underestimate both the possibility of a disaster and its possible effects. A definition on the term wouldn't exist unless the experience, or what people deal with experiencing this situation, does exist. And this may result in a situation where people fail to adequately prepare, and on a large scale, the failure of governments to include the populace in its disasters or preparations. And the funny thing is, whenever people get on the subject of a total collapse, or whenever people get on the subject of, let's say for instance, a comet hitting, they always say, even if it was happening, the government would never tell us. Well, that right there is already existing to the fact that normalcy bias exists. So why do you still experience it or deal with it? And one may have to blame the 7 stages that empires go through. It kind of displaced people in a different category of thinking. And the 7 categories are: number 1, outbursts. That's whenever you get out there, you try to discover land ASAP, real quick, and you try to claim it for yourself. You got people like Columbus and Magellan and other people that have done this, and Lewis and Clark and countless other people. And they get out there and they discover, but it doesn't end there. It always leads to number 2, which is the age of conquest. And it's never fair for the people that are there, because if you're coming to invade, you're always going to bring the higher technology. To invade a country that had a better army, boats were created to sail down the seas and attack them on different fronts. To invade a country that had better technology as far as metals. Gunpowder was created. At first, it's firework and gun show, but it was automatically stolen and used for weapons. But anyways, that always leads to number 3, commerce, because after you take away the minerals and the resources of the natural people, it leads to trade. And so you have to bulk up that money so you can start to build up your empire. And after that always comes affluence, because after attaining a great deal of money always ends in a decrease in morals, but sometimes it ends in a good way too, because it can be used in a good way as far as increasing intellects, which is age 5. And we experience that sometimes as far as the great names. You have great kings that have been known for their fame and knowledge. You have great philosophers and great scientists and scholars. Even people to this day. You even have people under 20 that know more than people over 50. But the issue is, when it comes to intellects, it also builds in certain things as far as ego. And with ego, you just think you deserve the best, which comes in the age of decadence. And decadence is a moral or cultural decline as characterized by excessive indulgence in pleasure or luxury. And we already experienced that. 1% should not own almost 50% of the wealth in the world. Something's up if that's happening. The system is not fair. This is a monopoly with no pass go, no collect $200. If you don't buy, you going straight to jail. But those luxuries always lead to feet in our 7 sins, our cardinal downfalls, which is pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. And once that starts to take over populace, because you have people like Catch Me Outside, or you have people that would sell their own family member for a certain amount of money if it's presented to them, then it always leads to an age of decline or collapse, because then outside influence can always influence those within. And that's what we have right now as far as lobbying, and we have foreign interests, and we have to worry about who's buying up our Federal Reserve, because we already know that our Federal Reserve does not go by the same rules as our government. We should not have to worry about what the Federal Reserve determines if it's ruled by a family or certain families and companies outside our country. And that's the thing about it. These people don't have an interest in what we go through every day. And that's why their ideas and beliefs are not based on what we go through every day. So they can tell us what they want to, but at the end of the day, each stage helps them. And each stage helps to lead to the next, as the values of the empire's people change over time. That either it be military, political, economic, religious developments, all influence an empire's people to act and belief in differently over time. Sorry. But I'll be wrapping this up, and I appreciate everybody that's watched this video and